Guild Wars 2 is perhaps my favorite MMO, well, ever, and for a variety of reasons I'll be delving into today. And one of those reasons is that I'm literally getting paid to talk about Guild Wars 2 in today's video. Speaking of which, thank you very much to ArenaNet for sponsoring today's video. Now, I'm gonna try my best here to not let my bias shine through, but I'm gonna go over some things that you can expect if you decide to start up Guild Wars 2 in 2026. First of all, we have to start with the bombshell news that dropped just a few days ago at the Summer Games Fest, because the madmen at ArenaNet finally went public with it. Guild Wars 3 is officially happening. You see, they dropped a pretty cool announcement trailer during the Summer Games Showcase, confirmed it's running in Unreal Engine 5, and revealed that it's heading to a frontier version of Ore where you play as a so-called Veil Warden. And before I forget, they've actually opened up both the PlayStation Store and the Steam Store, so you can literally go wishlist Guild Wars 3 right now. You should get to it. Now, when a big studio like this announces a full-blown sequel, the immediate knee-jerk reaction for a lot of MMO players is to understandably panic, because you start thinking, well, why on earth would I start playing Guild Wars 2 today if the sequel is on the horizon? But you see, this is exactly why the franchise's philosophy is so brilliant. You see, Guild Wars 2 doesn't use the traditional vertical gear treadmill that defines other games. There is no endless cycle where your hard-earned gear gets invalidated by a patch 5 months later. The horizontal progression system means that the legendary armor and items you built years ago are just as relevant and powerful right now. Like my Eternity over here. You better believe I grinded my ass off for that one. At any rate, diving into Tyria today is not a waste of time. It's actually the perfect time to experience the rich narrative foundation, master the combat mechanics, and find a community before the sequel arrives down the line. Now, I have dissected enough MMOs in my years to know what the MMO formula typically is like. You log in, you follow a dotted line on your minimap, you talk to an NPC with a glowing icon over their head, and you kill about 15 boars or skeletons. Then rinse and repeat until your eyes glaze over. However, Guild Wars 2 is a completely different beast because ArenaNet basically took that formula, crumpled it up, threw it in the trash, and set it on fire. There are no traditional quest hubs here, and the game simply drops you into a map and expects you to rely entirely on your own curiosity. You just pick a direction and walk, basically. The game rewards you with XP for essentially just existing in the world and doing whatever you want to do. You find a cool vantage point? XP. You discover a new map location? XP. And the world itself actually feels fairly alive, which is surprisingly rare in this genre, because you'll be wandering through a zone and suddenly there is a dynamic event that triggers completely organically. An outpost might get attacked by monsters, you could accidentally run into an otherworldly shadow creature the size of a mountain, and so much more. Now, graphically speaking, I do have to measure your expectations here. This obviously is not the Unreal Engine 5 powerhouse that Guild Wars 3 is going to be. But because ArenaNet chose a stylized, hand-painted art direction back in the day instead of chasing generic hyperrealism, the world has aged pretty gracefully, I'd say. It still looks pretty good, especially when you start reaching the newer expansion zones where the art style and atmosphere get a lot more varied and unique. That said, ArenaNet has talked about continuing support for Guild Wars 2 and revisiting older zones, so you don't have to worry that Guild Wars 2 is going to be left behind just because Guild Wars 3 is on the horizon. Alright, now if you're a veteran player or if the idea of leveling from scratch just sounds like a chore to you, that brings me to why right now is the best possible time to start playing. You see, alongside the Summer Game Fest announcement, ArenaNet is currently running a bonus event in Guild Wars 2 where they are handing out a 50% experience boost from all sources alongside 50% magic find, which means better drops. Add in some brand new achievements with fresh rewards, and the game is basically fast-tracking you through the early game so you can get straight to the real meat of the expansions. Speaking of which, once you hit the level cap and start exploring the expansions, you unlock what I consider to be the mechanical heart of the Guild Wars 2 experience: the combat. Now, unlike older, more traditional MMOs where you essentially stand still and trade static numbers with a boss, Guild Wars 2 uses a genuinely great hybrid between tab targeting and action combat. It is fast, it is fluid, and in a way, I guess, kinetic? For example, the inclusion of a dodge mechanic changes the rhythm of a fight compared to traditional MMOs. Timing a dodge perfectly to entirely negate the boss attack gives you a proper mechanical skill ceiling. It demands your attention and it feels incredibly responsive, if you have a good internet. But where the combat system really transcends into something special is when you venture into the expansions and unlock elite specializations. Now these rewrite how your chosen profession actually plays, because suddenly a ranger can transition into a frontline melee bruiser with dual maces. A necromancer can drop the long-range curses to wield a big close-quarters scythe, and so much more. And then between the spear mastery introduced in Janther Wilds and the brand new elite specializations that recently launched with Visions of Eternity, the depth of build crafting is pretty insane. You have the freedom to fine-tune a build that perfectly matches your specific playstyle. And if you want to experience the progression for yourself, well, from right now until June 19th, you can use my creator code at checkout to get a hefty 25% off on Heart of Thorns, Path of Fire, and End of Dragons. Now those three expansions are essentially the bedrock of the Guild Wars 2 endgame, because they are where you unlock some of those elite specializations I just mentioned, the game-changing gliding mechanics, and the legendary mount system that revolutionized exploration across the entire genre. So if you want to get your character built up and ready for the future, grabbing that core bundle with a 25% discount is an absolute no-brainer. Alright, now all of you Guild Wars 2 veterans would not forgive me if I did not talk about the metas, which is the gold standard of cooperative PvE. Essentially, metas turn entire zones in this game into giant clockwork machines. You'll be exploring a map and a region-wide notification alerts you that a big multi-stage assault is beginning. Then 50 and sometimes 100 players organically converge on a single point without ever needing to group up in a menu. Essentially, you form an accidental army, following a commander's tag to breach fortresses, defend supply lines, or coordinate 3 separate teams simultaneously to bring down a world boss. It creates an incredible sense of shared scale and emergent camaraderie that instant dungeons just can't replicate. But if you want that type of scale in competitive play, well, that's where World vs. World comes in. World vs. World is a separate mode where different alliances face off in a continuous war across 4 maps. Now I'm not talking about small-scale arena fights here, I'm talking macro level, baby. Here you are building trebuchets and flame rams to breach castle walls, defending your keep from organized enemy groups, and clashing in open field battles that genuinely get your blood pumping. It's strategic, chaotic, and heavily relies on real-time coordination. On the other side of the spectrum, we have structured PvP. If World vs. World is macro warfare, structured PvP is micro skill, meaning tight 5v5 objective-based arena combat. And now the best thing about Guild Wars 2's approach to PvP, especially if you are a returning or entirely new player, is that it features an equalized stat system. You see, the moment you step into the PvP lobby, your level is maxed and your gear is standardized, so you cannot get outgeared by a veteran who has been playing for a decade. But that means that when you lose a fight, it's not because their armor has higher numbers. It's because they outplayed or outbuilt you. It is truly a test of your reflexes. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Guild Wars 2 Summer Game Fest collab means everyone gets a 30% boost to their World vs. World and PvP reward track progress. So, if you are a player looking to get back into the competitive loop, or a new player looking to farm out armor sets, gold, and unique weapons, the 30% acceleration here cuts out a huge chunk of the usual progression time. Now, you cannot talk about an MMO without looking at its monetization. And in an industry where cash shops frequently cross the line into aggressive, predatory territory, Guild Wars 2 stands out with one of the most transparent and genuinely player-friendly economic designs on the market. And at the center of this is the currency exchange. You see, if you want a cosmetic armor piece, a unique mount skin, or a quality of life upgrade in the premium shop, you do not have to pull out a credit card to get it. You can take the gold you earned from running meta events, flipping items on the trading post, or playing competitive modes and convert it into gems, Guild Wars 2's premium currency. On the flip side, if you are a player with limited free time but with a bit of disposable income, you can legally convert gems back into gold to buy crafting materials or gear directly from the player-driven trading post. Now, to be completely real here, inflation is a thing. And if you want to fund an entire wardrobe purely through gameplay, you are going to have to commit to some heavy grinding. I'm not gonna lie, it takes time. But the simple fact that every single item in the shop can be earned entirely through playing the game is such a huge win for player autonomy. The system respects your wallet by giving you a path to unlock everything through sheer dedication. You just have to have the time. So when you look at the big picture, Guild Wars 2 is in a very interesting spot right now. With Guild Wars 3 on the horizon, the foundation built here over the last 14 years is not going anywhere. Because of the horizontal progression, nothing you do in Tyria today is an afterthought or a waste of time. Your gear, your achievements, and your legendary items are permanent investments. If you want to experience one of the best open worlds in the genre, master a fluid combat system, and get a head start before the sequel eventually arrives, the timing right now is practically perfect. As I mentioned earlier, you have a whopping 50% experience boost running right now to speed up your leveling, and you can get 25% off the core expansions using my creator code before June 19th, which you can find in the description and the pinned comment below. Anyway, that's gonna be it for today. Again, huge thanks to ArenaNet for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Mr. Alton, signing off.